Okay, well, welcome back, everybody. We are going to, the third part series here, we're going to finish the assembly of the 90-degree elbow with the curved throat here and the curved back as well. It's not a change elbow or anything, it's just a straight 10-inch side by 8 inches tall, so it shouldn't take a whole heck of a lot to put it together. So here we go, let's get it done. So I've got my base cheek and my upper cheek, or left or right cheek, however you want to look at that. I've got my heel bent and rolled, and I've got my throat bent and rolled, so we're ready to assemble it. So I'll start usually on one of these ends over here and get it lined up so it's flush, and then just work that around utilizing my hands and fingers. Sometimes they can be a little bit tricky, and you can see here on my right hand while I'm opening or closing to work that around and get that seated down inside that groove how it needs to be. And if everything was rolled smooth on the easy edger and I cut it in a nice curvature, it should pretty well go together nice and decent, and both ends, when they're together, should line up flush with each other, and it appears to. So the next thing for us to do then is just simply take and seat it and start folding this over. So when I seated that, if you notice, some of this over here decided that I think it would be nice to jump out of there, so we're going to have to work that around and then lock that down as we make our corner. Okay, now that I've got it pretty well tied in there on the edges, we'll look on the inside and make certain there's no gaps between there, and it appears that it's in there pretty decent. So we'll finish locking that over. At this point in time, I do like to use the side of the hammer, so it gives you a nice smooth edge. Some other things you can do to get that tighter is just put a little bit of pressure down on this cheek so it's got a little more of an angle, so when we square it up, it'll pull up to it and have a nice tight edge around that fitting there. Okay, being careful not to put any additional dings in that. Flip it over, and we'll put the other cheek on there as well. Again, starting flush with the one edge, we'll work that around so it fits good. It doesn't really matter to me what edge you start with, just as long as it finishes and it's smooth there for you. So that appears to be pretty good. Maybe just a little bit back. so you can look at it and make sure there's no gaps in there. There's a small one in here I see, right in this area, so we'll tap that in. And by the way, this little tool, if you want to call it that, it's nothing more than about a 1/2 inch rod with a slit cut in the end to prevent any dings that gotten in the metal. You can do this with a screwdriver as well, and it works just fine. And we'll just work that around. Pound it over. Make sure the edge is tight. And then finish the part. Again, using that side of that hammer makes a real nice smooth job without any additional dings in it. Sometimes I do finish up with the narrow edge of the hammer just to tighten up a couple areas as well. Okay, so now that I've got both the cheeks assembled to the heel, now we've got to take care of our inside throat with that. Sometimes it does pay to open these up just a little bit, but I think it's going to be okay. And if it's overbent, you can always just kind of straighten them out a little bit as well. Again, lining up your edges, and then we should be able to work them around that part, and both corners should line up flush with each other. So make sure they're seated down there, and we'll tap them over. This part of the project is a little bit harder to do with the edge of the hammer because it doesn't fit in there real well. So it being it's small, I just use the narrow edge. I'll take it little bits at a time. Hopefully that'll prevent any additional dings in it. Now that I got it started, I can go back to the flat side as well and finish it up. Flip it over and finish the other side. Making certain the edges are lined up decent with the part. We'll seat them either with you can use the tip of your hammer as well. You just got to be careful if you dent it. And then we'll tap them over. And then now that I got it started, back to the flat side. And that's it. That concludes the 90-degree elbow with the radius heel and the radius throat as well. A little later on, after it's graded, we'll put our bins on here to set our drive cleats, or be able to get our S-clip, the drive cleats for the S-clip and everything to lock on there. So hope you enjoyed it, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks a lot.